This is a power O run that uses a pulling guard from the other side of the line. And this is a speed option run that requires the quarterback to make a split-second decision. Two of the many fascinating running concepts that go unnoticed by casual fans. Here's how they work. There are man concepts, zone concepts, and gap concepts. What makes them different are the types of blocks linemen make and what the running back must read or decide after receiving the ball. Man concepts block specific defenders, zone concepts block areas and adjust to defenders within them, and gap concepts use predetermined lanes with pulling blockers to create a point of attack. Let's start with the most simple runs. Man concepts. Lead dive. Lead dive is a quick-hitting downhill run where the running back follows a lead blocker straight through the A or B gap. It's a man concept, which means blockers are assigned specific defenders to block. You block your guy, I block mine. This one-on-one blocking is called hat-on-hat because the lineman puts his helmet or hat on the defender's helmet. Man concepts will sometimes use combo blocks or double team blocks though. With lead dive, these linemen will double team their respective defenders for the entire play, increasing the probability that the block will be successful. The fullback runs through the gap and blocks the first linebacker who appears, hopefully creating a clean running lane for his running back. It's a simple basic running play used for short yardage or on the goal line. The term lead in lead dive refers to the lead blocker that's included in the play design. Straight lead. Straight lead is very similar to lead dive. They both target the A or B gap and include a lead blocker. The difference with straight lead is that it doesn't utilize double team blocks. The use of strictly hat-on-hat blocks is for speed. The running back doesn't have to wait at all for blocks to develop or double teams to engage. He and his lead blocker are going to hit that gap immediately. Smash mouth football. Isolation. Isolation, or ISO, is another simple man concept that assigns the running back to follow his lead blocker through a designated hole. This time they're usually aiming for the B gap or C gap. Another difference is the use of a blocking technique called combo blocks instead of double team blocks. Both offensive linemen will block the same defender after the ball is snapped, but after one of them has the block under control, the other one peels off, moves to the second level, and blocks a linebacker. These blocks take longer to develop, which is why the play is designed for the B or C gaps instead of the A gap. The running back takes an extra step and has a bit more patience to give his blockers more time. ISO attempts to create a clean running lane towards a single isolated defender. The fullback, or nowadays the halfback who is the blocking back, knows who he is expected to block before the snap, unlike lead dive where he blocks the first linebacker in the hole. Here's how the offense would isolate this specific linebacker in this formation. First, the left tackle is responsible for blocking this defensive end one-on-one. This guard and center both block this defensive tackle. This is the combo block. The guard will then peel off and block this middle linebacker. That leaves this linebacker all alone as the sole remaining defensive threat. The lead blocker's job is to run through the designated gap and block this isolated defender. The running back's job is simplified but not easy. Follow your lead blocker through the predetermined gap and run behind his block. There's no reading or decision-making like zone concepts. The back aims for this specific gap, trusts that this fullback will handle the key defender, and follows him through the created lane. Man dive. Man dive is very similar to lead dive in that the running back is hitting the A or B gap, while linemen use simple hat-on-hat blocking. The difference is that the back has no lead blocker. Notice that the play call doesn't include the word lead like before. Why would teams do this? Because it allows teams to use the same formation for both run and pass plays to disguise their intentions and prevent the defense from gaining a pre-snap advantage. This forces defenders to stay honest and react post-snap, improving the offense's ability to exploit mismatches or coverage busts. If you only call run plays from an I formation or other formations with two running backs, the defense will replace defensive backs with linebackers or linemen to give themselves a run-stopping advantage. But with a single back formation, the offense can threaten the pass and throw in quick man dive runs to catch the defense off guard. Man toss. Man toss is an outside run where the ball is pitched to the running back, who aims to reach the edge quickly. The line uses normal hat-on-hat blocking, and the back usually has a lead blocker who's responsible for blocking the outside cornerback. Before we move on to zone runs, there are a few pieces of coaching language that help us understand and appreciate play design. Offensive line gaps identify the spaces blockers must control. The A gap is between center and guards, B gap between guards and tackles, and C gap between tackles and tight ends. Play side refers to the direction the run is designed to go, while backside is the opposite side. In this play, the right guard is the play side guard, and the left guard is the backside guard. Ball carrier numbers identify which player gets the ball using their backfield position. The quarterback is always 1, the halfback or tailback is 2, the fullback is 3, and the flanker back or motion player is 4. Running holes describe where the running back is designed to carry the ball, using a numbering system that corresponds to these gaps. It's similar to the A gaps and B gaps we just talked about, but are a bit more specific and intended for running backs. Even numbers represent the right side of the formation. The 2 hole is the right A gap, the 4 hole is the right B gap, and the 6 hole is the right C gap. Odd numbers represent the left side. 1 hole is left A gap, 3 hole is left B gap, and 5 hole is left C gap. The 0 hole refers to a quarterback sneak directly behind the center. When coaches call the play 24 inside zone, they're telling the running back, whose ball carrier number is 2, to attack the 4 hole with an inside zone blocking scheme, giving everyone on offense the exact same picture of where the ball is going. Defensive line techniques describe where defenders position themselves to control gaps and challenge blocking schemes. A defender over the center is called 0 technique. On the center's shoulder is 1 technique. Over the guard is 2 technique. In the B gap is 3 technique, and so on, often shortened to 2 tech or 5 tech. Linebacker designations reveal who zone schemes target for displacement. The Mike lines up behind the defensive tackles and stops inside runs. The Sam aligns on the strong side, usually the side with the tight end, to take on lead blockers and force runs inside. The Will positions on the weak side to pursue from the backside. Putting this all together, when coaches call zone 22 right, they're signaling an inside zone run to the right A gap, the 2 hole, with the halfback as the ball carrier. Against a defense with a 3 technique defensive tackle on the play side and a 1 technique nose tackle on the backside, the right guard is covered and will work to block the 3 tech directly or with help from the right tackle. The center and left guard will combination block the backside 1 tech with 1 climbing to the will linebacker. This creates a vertical seam in the 2 hole for the back to read and attack, or bounce or bend, depending on how the defense flows. The numbering system ensures perfect coordination. The blocking scheme creates the lane, the ball carrier knows exactly where to run, and everyone executes the same concept simultaneously. As a casual viewer, it's not important to remember all of these terms or spot them in real time on TV. But hopefully it helps you appreciate the level of detail and strategy that goes into each play. With that in mind, let's look at some zone running concepts. Inside zone. Inside zone is the foundation of zone scheme running, usually targeting the B gap, through coordinated lateral movement that displaces defenders from their original positions. The offensive line executes a distinctive 2-step process. Step laterally in unison first to gain leverage on the play side, then drive vertically to move defenders. This lateral movement is a defining characteristic of zone run plays. The offensive linemen are meant to move their defender horizontally and let the running back find the best crease to run through. There is more pressure on the running back with zone runs compared to man runs, because he must read how the blocks are developing and find the best lane instead of simply following his lead blocker. Great zone runners like Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook are praised for having great vision. They quickly read the blocks after the ball has been snapped and cut into the open lane. Before the snap, each lineman identifies whether they're covered or uncovered. A lineman is covered when a defender lines up head up right in front of him or in the gap between him and the next offensive player towards the play side. This center is covered because there is a defender in the 1 tech position, which is in his play side gap. This guard is uncovered because there's no defensive player that's heads up or in this playside gap. Covered linemen are expected to block the defender in their gap by first stepping laterally towards the playside and then engaging the defender. Uncovered linemen will combo block for a moment to help their fellow linemen, but then one of the two will peel off and move downfield to the second layer and block a linebacker. If the defender slants towards the play side, then the backside lineman will usually be the one that peels off, and vice versa. These are the rules that zone blockers follow. Their individual assignments will change from one play to the next, even if the exact same play is called because the defenders line up in different spots. They're responsible for blocking their assigned zone. The running back makes what's called a bang bend bounce read. He's first reading the B gap, the outside hip of his playside guard, and adjusting based on how the blocking develops. This is the bang read, and he will take this running lane if his linemen achieve inside leverage and create a clean running lane. If the defense wins their battle towards the playside, or if the linebackers over-pursue towards the playside, the running back will look to bend by cutting back towards the backside of the play, where there are now fewer defenders. Sometimes what happens is this defensive end tries to quickly cut inside to pursue the running back from behind. If the back sees this, he can make a big cut and bend all the way to the outside edge of the backside for big yardage. But if this defender maintains outside pressure, he forces the runner toward the middle of the field where there's more defensive help. If there are no cutback lanes, then the running back will bounce and run towards the outer edge of the play side. Bang, bend, bounce. The horizontal movement of zone runs is what makes it effective because it gives the back several choices. You'll recognize inside zone by that coordinated lateral step where the entire line moves in this direction simultaneously. And you'll notice the running back press towards this gap initially and sometimes cut back towards the opposite direction from the movement. Split zone. Split zone is the same as inside zone except a halfback, tight end, or fullback lines up on the play side and comes across the formation to block the backside defensive end. Just like in the Eagles run we just watched, the defensive end is often unblocked due to the lateral movement towards the play side by the offensive line in zone run plays. Sealing off this backside defender creates for a cleaner cutback lane for the running back. Zone read. Zone read is the same as inside zone, except the quarterback has an option to hold onto the ball if he reads the unblocked backside defensive end correctly. If the end crashes down to tackle the running back, the quarterback will hold onto the ball and run to the outside towards the empty space the defensive end just vacated. If the defender stays wide to contain, the quarterback hands the ball off to the running back, who continues the inside zone play as he normally would. The purpose of zone read is to punish aggressive defensive ends who crash the run too quickly. It adds another running threat for the defense to take into account, the quarterback. Of course, zone reads benefit most from mobile quarterbacks who pose serious running threats like Lamar Jackson. Mid-zone. Mid-zone is similar to inside zone, except the running back is targeting either the B gap or C gap, just outside the tackle's hip. The same zone blocking principles apply, although linemen might take a slightly wider lateral step post-snap to account for the slightly wider running path. Outside zone. Outside zone is exactly what you'd expect. It's a wider version of mid-zone. This time, the running back is aiming for the eighth hole, which is outside the tight end. If there is no tight end, then the back aims for the outside of the ghost tight end, the spot where the tight end would line up. Linemen again take a wider lateral step to the play side as the offense attempts to challenge the defense's horizontal coverage. Teams with athletic linemen and speedy running backs can have slight personnel advantages with outside zone runs. In this formation, the center guard and tight end are covered and must block their play side defenders. The tackle is uncovered and would combo block this defensive tackle before peeling off and blocking the Mike linebacker. The running back uses the same bang bend bounce read, but starts his read in the 8 gap on the outside hip of his tight end, or the 7 gap if it's a run to the left. If the tight end wins his block and achieves outside leverage after taking his lateral step towards the play side, the back will bang this running lane. If the outside defender maintains outside leverage after the snap, the running back will make his bend read and possibly cut back towards the backside if he sees an open lane. When linebackers over-pursue the lateral stretch, enormous cutback lanes tend to develop. His last read is to bounce further to the outside as a last resort. All of this has to happen in under a second, which requires a running back with excellent vision and accurate decision making. The strategic beauty emerges when defenses rotate their safeties to stop the outside run. If they bring the strong safety down into the box, you're facing 8 defenders, but now you have single pass coverage on the outside for potential RPO opportunities. This means the quarterback can decide to keep the ball instead of handing it off, and complete a pass to either an open receiver or favorable one-on-one matchup. There's also a play called wide zone that is often used interchangeably with outside zone. The play design and target running lane are the same, but the running back has slightly longer emphasis on the stretch part of his run. Although these outside and wide plays are targeting the 8-hole, the horizontal movement often creates large cutback lanes for the running back to bend into. Jet zone. Jet zone uses the same blocking principles as outside zone, but involves a receiver who starts in motion pre-snap and sprints across the quarterback at the snap. The quarterback hands off or shovel passes to the receiver in stride, creating a dangerous horizontal threat for the defense. Jet zone forces the defense to account for the full width of the field and might catch defenders trying to cheat wide to make a stop. It can also be combined with fake inside zone runs or used as a fake for inside zone runs to create misdirection. For example, a fake jet zone might cause a linebacker to pursue to the outside, allowing for cleaner running lanes when the running back cuts back to the A or B gap. Now let's look at the third category of running plays: gap concepts. Power O. Power represents the foundation of gap scheme blocking, which aims to open a specific running lane for the ball carrier by using something called down blocks and kick-out blocks. A down block is where a lineman takes a sharp angle and attempts to block his defender down the play towards the backside. This might require a step inside to get into the correct position, but it's different than the initial lateral step that linemen take with zone runs. The goal of these down blocks is to create a secure wall or tunnel for the back to run through. Most gap runs will also involve a pulling guard who runs behind and across the line to make a block, usually on a linebacker in the second level. The purpose of this pulling guard is to add another blocker to the point of attack, which often creates a mathematical advantage against the number of defenders on the play side. The block on the outermost lineman is called a kick-out block and is meant to keep him on the outside of the running lane. Gap runs rely a lot more on precision and coordination from the entire offensive line in order to create a clean running lane. The goal is to create a clean running lane in a specific gap, hence the name. There is more pressure on the offensive line to execute their blocks successfully compared to zone runs, where the running back has multiple lanes to choose from. Here's what Power O looks like. Usually you have your guard and tackle double team this inside defender, have someone else give a kick-out block to the defensive end, and a final blocker give a lead block to a linebacker at the point of attack. We call this a double team block instead of a combo block because both of these linemen will remain on this defender the whole time to ensure it's a solid and secure block. Combo blocks are when one of the linemen peels off to a linebacker and are mostly used for zone blocking plays. The running back reads the kick-out block first. If the defender spills inside, then the running back will likely bounce outside. But if the kick-out block successfully seals the end outside, then the running back will follow his lead blocker through the C gap. You'll recognize Power by that distinctive pulling guard. He's the key identifier that separates Power from other gap schemes. Other gap runs use pulling blocks, but Power O is unique with its use of the backside pulling guard specifically. The strategic element is how this play creates a unique mathematical advantage at the point of attack in the C gap due to the pulling guard. Defenses might have a difficult time overcoming this personnel disadvantage and be forced to add an extra defender to the box to even out the numbers. The consequence of this is that it weakens their passing coverage. It's a great example of why you'll hear people talk about the importance of establishing the run. Something else that's interesting is that if a team has an excellent offensive line that's great at executing gap blocking schemes, they might not get as much value from signing or trading for a zone gap runner like McCaffrey, who is known for his great vision. They might prefer a more downhill runner with a big frame who can blast through the designed hole and break arm tackles. Derrick Henry and Najee Harris are great examples. Counter. Counter is very similar to Power O, except it uses two pulling blockers instead of one, usually the backside guard and tackle. Since the guard is close to the play side, he is usually responsible for the kick-out block on the defensive end, while the tackle is the wraparound blocker who leads through the C-gap. The play side blockers often use the same double-team blocking assignment as before, using the down block technique to wall off the hole. You'll see the running back take an initial step towards the backside to allow the tackle time to make his way across the line into his blocking position. Duo. Inside gap, also called duo, is a gap scheme run but without pulling blockers, focusing on double-team blocks at the point of attack while the running back makes his gap selection based on which hole the Mike linebacker attacks. Duo runs always have a tight end and are always run towards the side of the field where he's lined up. The term duo refers to these two pairs of linemen who are each double-teaming a defender on the line. The center and guard work together on the nose tackle, while the guard and tackle team up on the three-technique defensive tackle. Each lineman is responsible for his backside gap. This is the gap that's opposite the side that the play is being run. If there is a defender lined up in a lineman's backside gap, then he's expected to block him. If there isn't, then the lineman will double-team the defender on his play side. However, after the ball is snapped, the lineman is still responsible for his backside gap and must block linebackers or other defenders who attempt to run through this lane. So they would abandon the double team they're helping with and block this new defender. The play side tackle will have a hat-on-hat block, and the tight end will block the outermost linebacker. If the defender lines up head up or outside, the tight end will attempt to block him towards the outside with inside leverage. Otherwise, he will down block him to the inside. The running back's responsibility after the snap is to read the Mike linebacker. If he decides to go to the outside of this double team, then the running back will run inside. If the linebacker goes inside, the guard will abandon his double team and block the linebacker, and the running back will bang the B gap. You'll recognize inside gap by the absence of pulling linemen and the way the offensive line works in partnerships. Watch how the running back's eyes stay focused on the development of the double teams. He's making his gap selection based on where the Mike linebacker goes. It often looks very similar to inside zone because of how the offensive line double teams defenders and the back is running to the same A or B gaps. The visual difference with inside zone will be the distinct lateral movement right after the snap, and the offensive line quickly peeling off their combo blocks and moving to the second level. Duo runs often don't lead to game-breaking plays because the running back is often squeezing through pretty tight holes and engaging with an unblocked defender, but they are pretty reliable for securing safe short yardages. Trap. Trap uses a backside offensive lineman to trap an aggressive defensive lineman by allowing him to penetrate, then blocking him from an unexpected angle while the running back cuts behind the trap block. The blocking scheme is built around deception and timing. The play side guard will execute a bait block on this defensive tackle before abandoning him and moving to the second layer to block a linebacker. This false block is also called influencing and is meant for the defender to believe he is unblocked by mistake, which will cause him to charge hard upfield towards the running back for what he thinks is an easy tackle. However, the backside guard pulls behind the center and blocks this defender from the side, creating a lane in the A gap for the running back. Without this bait block, the defender might read the play, see the pulling guard approaching, and adjust his attack. It's a quick play that's great for gaining short yardage and doesn't require much blocking support from the tackles or tight ends. Trap is often run when a defender lines up in the three technique position because it gives the pulling guard a good blocking angle as he comes around the center. The running back's technique requires patience and trust. He must wait for the trap block to develop, often allowing the defensive lineman to penetrate past him initially. Once the trap block is established, he cuts behind it through the created gap. You'll recognize trap by the way that one defensive lineman appears to be winning initially, then gets blocked from an unexpected angle by a pulling lineman. The running back will often hesitate in the backfield before making his cut behind the trap block. Trap becomes vulnerable when defensive linemen maintain gap discipline and don't overpenetrate. This means they keep close to the guard and don't rush quickly into the backfield. When this happens, the pulling guard no longer has a clean kickout angle, and the whole concept of the play falls apart. Linebackers who read the pulling lineman early can also disrupt the concept by filling the gap before the running back arrives. The chess match involves the offense's ability to identify which defenders are aggressive enough to be trapped versus the defense's discipline in maintaining gap integrity even when opportunities to penetrate appear. Wham. Wham is very similar to trap, except the tight end is the one who makes the surprise block on the defensive tackle. This is useful for teams with less mobile linemen because the pulling guard can miss his trap block if the defensive lineman quickly shoots upfield. The tight end or halfback line up in the backfield and are in better position to make this block. The limitation is that you need a physical tight end or halfback who can block a defensive tackle. G-lead. G-lead is a gap concept where the playside guard pulls to become the lead blocker through the hole, typically in the C gap. The pulling guard leads through the lane and targets the playside linebacker, while the rest of the offensive line walls off defenders inside. It's crucial to have a strong blocking tight end because he will contain pressure from the end of the line and will not get help from his tackle, like in other running concepts. It's effective because it gives a different look to the defense and utilizes one of your best blockers on the outside, where he might have a more favorable matchup against a linebacker instead of defensive tackle. T-lead. T-lead is exactly what it sounds like. The playside tackle pulls around the tight end towards the outside. Normally, T-lead is called in 22 personnel formations, where there are 2 tight ends on the field. Dart. Dart is like power, except the backside tackle pulls and leads through the playside B gap and requires an athletic tackle because he has to cover a lot of ground. It's good against one tech because Dart often aims for the B gap, and a one tech allows the playside G to down block or combo block with good leverage, giving the pulling tackle and RB a cleaner hole. Speed option. Speed option attacks the edge with the quarterback and running back both threatening to be the ball carrier, forcing edge defenders to make impossible choices, while the offense uses speed to get outside faster than the defense can flow. The blocking scheme is typically aggressive reach blocking designed to seal defenders inside, while the quarterback and running back attack the edge. Unlike read option, both players are moving toward the sideline, with the quarterback making his pitch decision based on how the edge defender commits.